Stop wasting your life chasing people, chasing approval, chasing the world that never cared if you succeeded or failed. This audiobook is your wake-up call. Starting today, your only mission is simple. Focus on you until you win. When you stop begging for validation, when you stop reacting to everyone else's noise, when you start building yourself in silence, you become unstoppable. This is the discipline that changes everything. And if you listen all the way through, you will walk out with a mindset built for power, clarity, and unbreakable self-respect. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop chasing people, start building yourself. You've spent too much of your life chasing attention, chasing approval, chasing the world that never cared if you succeeded or failed. And here's the truth you've avoided for far too long. You cannot win if you're chasing. Say it again. You cannot win if you're chasing. Every time you run after someone's validation, you abandon yourself. Every time you try to impress people who don't value you, you weaken your own foundation. Every time you bend your standards just to fit into someone else's world, you step out of alignment with your own. Self-neglect doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens quietly, slowly, silently. It happens in those tiny decisions where you put someone else's opinion above your own growth. It happens in those unnoticed moments where you shrink yourself to stay acceptable. And you know this. You've lived it. We all have. Let me give you the real-world example you've seen again and again. There's a guy who works harder for approval than he does for his own goals. At work, he stays late, not to master his craft, not to build his future, but to look good in front of people who will forget his name the moment he's no longer useful. He spends years trying to be liked, trying to be seen, trying to be appreciated. But while he's chasing them, his dreams are sitting untouched. His goals are collecting dust. His future is shrinking. Years go by. He looks back and realizes something painful. He built their respect, but he never built himself. And that's the trap. That's the cycle. That's the quiet destruction you must stop right now. Because the world will never tell you to focus on you. The world would tell you to chase approval, chase popularity, chase attention, chase validation, chase everything except your own growth. But listen carefully. You have a choice, a powerful one, a life-changing one. You can keep chasing people, or you can start building yourself. That's the key. Not more effort, not more pleasing, not more begging, more discipline. It's not about being liked. It's about being grounded. It's not about being accepted. It's about being aligned. It's not about being impressive. It's about being unshakable. Every strong person you admire has something in common. They stopped chasing. They redirected that energy into themselves. They built their mind. They built their habits. They built their focus. They built their character. And because they built themselves, everything else aligned naturally. And this is the shift you must make today. You need to understand something crucial. Your focus is your fuel. Where you put it determines everything. Where you invest it decides the quality of your life. Where you aim it shapes your future. When you chase people, your focus gets scattered. When you chase approval, your focus gets hijacked. When you chase attention, your focus gets diluted. And diluted focus creates diluted results. That's why you feel drained. That's why you feel stuck. That's why you feel like the harder you try, the less you grow. Because you're investing in everyone but you. So let's get brutally honest. Where has chasing gotten you? Did it turn you into the person you wanted to be? Did it give you the life you imagined? Did it make you stronger, happier, more disciplined, more powerful? No, it never does. Because chasing people is a losing game, a game you can't win, a game you shouldn't even play. And here's a deeper truth. You don't need their permission. Not to grow, not to change, not to rise, not to win. You don't need anyone to choose you before you choose yourself. You don't need anyone to believe in you before you commit to your own discipline. You don't need anyone to validate you before you get to work. The moment you understand this, everything shifts. The moment you accept it, everything accelerates. The moment you live it, everything transforms. And this is where the chapter meets its core lesson. Self-focus is not selfish. It is necessary. Because you cannot pour from an empty mind. You cannot build a strong life with a weak foundation. You cannot achieve your potential while chasing people who were never meant to go where you're going. So here's what you do from this day forward. You stop giving emotional discounts. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop breaking yourself to fix others. You stop bending to be chosen. You stop apologizing for prioritizing your development. And you replace all of that with one commitment. You build yourself. You build your focus. You build your discipline. You build your consistency. You build your emotional control. You build your vision. You build your habits. Every day, without needing applause, without needing recognition, without needing external permission. Because when you build yourself, you create something chasing can never give you. Power, momentum, clarity, self-respect, peace, direction, identity. You learn that you don't need to chase anyone when you are becoming someone. And that's the point. That's the chapter's truth. That's the message your life has been waiting for. You don't win by chasing. You win by building. You win by focusing. You win by taking back your attention. You win by investing in your inner world. You win by rising from the inside out. And as you do that, something incredible happens. The right people come toward you. The right opportunities come towards you. The right environment forms around you. Not because you chased, but because you became. This chapter ends with one final reminder. You can't win if you're chasing. Redirect your focus. Reclaim your energy. Rebuild your identity. Because the moment you stop chasing people, you finally start building the person you were meant to become. And now that you've learned where your power truly begins, it's time to learn what protects it. Chapter 2, The Discipline of Saying No. There is a moment in every person's life where they realize something painful but liberating. Your life is not ruined by what you couldn't do. Your life is ruined by what you wouldn't say no to. Look back. Look honestly. Most of your stress, your exhaustion, your frustration came from one thing. You kept saying yes when you should have said no. And here's the truth you've avoided for far too long. You don't have a discipline problem. You have a boundaries problem. That's the key. Not more willpower, not more motivation, not more hours in the day. Just stronger, cleaner, sharper boundaries. Because without the discipline of saying no, you hand your life to anyone who asks for it. Let's be clear. Every time you say yes to something meaningless, you say no to something essential. Every time you say yes to someone's drama, you say no to your own peace. Every time you say yes to distractions, you say no to your future. And the cruel part is this: you rarely notice it happening. You don't lose your life in one moment. You lose it in 1,000 small agreements that slowly drain your purpose. No is protection. Say it again. No is protection. It protects your focus. It protects your energy. It protects your goals. It protects your time. It protects the life you're trying to build. But most people never learn this. Most people stay exhausted because they are terrified of disappointing others, terrified of conflict, terrified of being judged, terrified of being misunderstood. So what do? They break themselves to look agreeable. They sacrifice their future to stay comfortable. They shrink their life to avoid saying one simple word. Let's break it down with a real-world example. Think about the woman who always overextends herself. At work, she becomes the person everyone depends on, not because she wants to, but because she's too afraid to say no. Every task is dumped on her desk. Every crisis becomes her problem. Every request becomes her responsibility. People call her helpful. People call her reliable. People call her a team player. But here's what they don't see. Her goals remain untouched. Her dreams remain paused. Her life remains on hold. She's drained. She's resentful. She's exhausted. And the worst part? She did it to herself by saying yes to everyone except the one person who actually mattered, herself. You know this pattern. You've lived it. We all have. So let me be direct with you. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your future, you are choosing to delay your future. You have a choice, a powerful one, a necessary one. If you want to build a stronger life, you must learn the discipline of saying no. Not sometimes, not occasionally, not only when it's easy. You must learn to say no when it's uncomfortable. No when people don't like it. No when it surprises them. No when it shocks them. No when they don't expect it. Because strong boundaries will always upset people who benefited from you having none. This is where discipline comes in. Discipline is not waking up early. Discipline is not grinding endlessly. Discipline is not pushing until you collapse. Discipline is protecting the life you're trying to build. And you protect it with your choices, your clarity, your standards, your boundaries. So, let's break it down with absolute clarity. Here are the 4 things you must start saying no to immediately. 1. No to emotional traps. People who want to pull you into conflict, gossip, drama, they drain your mind. And drained minds can't focus. And without focus, you cannot win. No is your shield. 2. No to meaningless commitments. Stop filling your calendar with things that do not grow you. Stop saying yes to every invitation, every request, every expectation. Your time is not cheap. No is your protection. 3. No to energy thieves. Some people don't ask for your money, they ask for your time, your attention, your emotional labor. These people don't leave you better, they leave you empty. No is your boundary. 4. No to your own excuses. The hardest no is the one you say to yourself. No, I'm not sleeping in. No, I'm not skipping today. No, I'm not delaying this work. No is your discipline. When you master these 4 no's, something powerful happens. Your life gets lighter. Your mind gets clearer. Your direction gets sharper. Because every no you speak is actually a yes to your future. A yes to your growth. A yes to your peace. A yes to your goals. A yes to your discipline. A yes to your evolution. And here's what you need to repeat until it becomes a new operating system.
You don't need their permission to say no. Not your friends, not your coworkers, not your family, not your partner, not society. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't owe anyone access to your time. You don't owe anyone explanations for your boundaries. Because this chapter has one core truth. No is not rejection. No is self-respect. Strong people understand this. Disciplined people understand this. Successful people understand this. Weak people say yes to everything. Strong people say no to most things. And this is where your life begins to shift. When you start saying no, you start realizing how much time you truly have. When you start saying no, you start reclaiming the parts of yourself you gave away. When you start saying no, you start building the life you actually want, not the life others want from you. So here is your assignment. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Write down the 5 things that constantly drain your time, your energy, your peace. 5 things you say yes to out of habit, fear, guilt, or pressure. Then make a decision. You say no to all 5. Not gradually, not when you feel ready. Now. Because there is nothing more dangerous to your growth than a life filled with meaningless yeses. You want to build yourself? Start by protecting yourself. You want to grow? Start by cutting what keeps you small. You want to win? Start by removing what wastes your focus. Because your focus is your fuel, and no is the filter that protects it. This chapter ends with one final truth. If you can't say no, you will never have the time, the peace, or the power to build the life you want. You mastered your boundaries. Now it's time to master the environment where your true growth happens. Chapter 4. Build in silence, grow in private. There is a reason you feel drained when you share your plans with the wrong people. There is a reason your momentum dies the moment you announce your goals too early. There is a reason your breakthroughs slow down the moment you start seeking applause. Here's the truth most people never learn. Your growth is sacred, and sacred things must be protected. Your progress needs privacy. Your discipline needs silence. Your transformation needs space. Because the more noise around your life, the less clarity inside your mind. That's the truth. That's the key. And that's why Chapter 3 exists, to teach you the power of disappearing while you build yourself. Let's start with a brutal reality. Most people don't want you to grow. Not because they're evil, not because they're out to destroy you, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. Your discipline highlights their excuses. Your ambition threatens their comfort. So when you talk too much, you invite resistance. When you reveal too much, you invite doubt. When you share your goals prematurely, you invite opinions you never needed. You have to understand this. People cannot interfere with what they do not see. People cannot disrupt what you do not announce. People cannot sabotage what is protected by silence. You have a choice. You can keep broadcasting every move, or you can start building in silence like every great achiever in history. Think about it. The strongest people aren't loud. The most disciplined people aren't broadcasting. The real winners are busy working, not winning arguments about how they're going to change. You don't need their encouragement. You need your own consistency. You don't need their permission. You need your own discipline. Let's look at a real-world example you've seen 1,000 times. There's someone who joins the gym and announces it online. Day 1, they post. Day 2, they post. Day 3, they post. But by day 20, nothing. They quit. Why? Because they were chasing recognition instead of building commitment. They wanted applause, not progress. They wanted validation, not transformation. This is what happens when noise replaces discipline. This is what happens when you allow attention to become your reward. This is what happens when you forget the foundation of growth: silent work. But then there's the other type of person. They don't post. They don't announce. They don't need applause. They show up at 6 a.m. when no one sees. They train when nobody claps. They commit when there is no witness. Months go by. People start noticing. They look different. They speak different. They walk different. They carry a presence you can't fake. And everyone asks the same question. When did this happen? It happened in silence. That's the lesson. That's the advantage. Growth built in private becomes power revealed in public. And here's why silence works. Silence removes pressure. Silence removes distraction. Silence removes expectations. Silence removes outside judgment. Silence removes the ego. When you build in silence, you're free to fail quietly, learn privately, adjust intelligently, and grow without interruption.
You have a choice. You can let noise drain you, or you can let silence sharpen you. It's not about being mysterious. It's about being disciplined. It's not about being secretive. It's about being strategic. It's not about hiding. It's about protecting your focus. Remember this: your focus is your fuel, and silence keeps that fuel from leaking. The world has conditioned you to believe that you need to show your progress to be proud of it, but that's wrong. You don't need an audience. You need integrity. You don't need public validation. You need private consistency. You don't need a crowd. You need commitment. Let me give you the truth nobody tells you. People cannot celebrate what they do not understand. People cannot support what they do not live. People cannot protect what they do not value. So, why give them access to your growth? Why hand them the steering wheel of your life? Why allow their opinions to shape your discipline? You don't owe anyone updates. You don't owe anyone explanations. You don't owe anyone a performance. You owe yourself transformation. You owe yourself the right to evolve without being watched. You owe yourself the right to grow without being questioned. You owe yourself the right to build without being interrupted. This chapter is your reminder. Your life changes the moment you stop performing for approval. Your growth accelerates the moment you stop narrating your journey. Your discipline strengthens the moment you give the world access to your development. So, here's what silence looks like in real life. You wake up early without announcing it. You read books no one knows about. You learn skills quietly. You grind in the background. You clean your environment. You upgrade your habits. You confront your weaknesses. You strengthen your mindset. Silently, consistently, relentlessly. And then one day, People who underestimated you will say, "You've changed," as if that wasn't the point, as if that wasn't the plan, as if they were ever supposed to see the work that built your transformation. But the truth is simple. Greatness is constructed in private long before it is revealed in public. You have to protect your ambition. You have to guard your progress. You have to defend your focus. Because the world is loud, but growth is quiet. The world is distracting, but discipline is silent. The world wants you to pull you in, but success requires pulling back. You don't need their noise. You need your silence. As you continue this journey, I want you to repeat this until it becomes a new operating system in your mind. Silence is strength. Silence is protection. Silence is discipline. Silence is power. Because it is. And now that you've learned how to build quietly, you're ready for the next truth. A truth that will determine the quality of your decisions and the strength of your character. You mastered silence. Now it's time to master yourself. Chapter 4. Emotional control is your real superpower. If self-discipline is the engine of success, emotional control is the steering wheel. Without it, you drift, crash, or move in circles. With it, you can navigate any situation calmly, strategically, and intelligently. 1. Your emotions are messengers, not masters. Most people let their emotions drive their life. They get angry, say something they regret. They feel sad, lose focus. They feel jealous, stop working. They feel stressed, give up. But the truth is simple. Your emotions are signals, not commands. They're here to inform you, not control you. When you learn to pause, when you choose action, not reaction, you become powerful. 2. The strongest person in the room is the most emotionally stable.
Not the loudest, not the richest, not the most talented, but the one who stays centered when others lose their mind. If someone insults you and you stay calm, you win. If life throws problems at you and you stay steady, you win. If your emotions rise but you don't let them dictate your decisions, you win. Real strength is invisible. Real strength is internal. 3. Emotional control is the ability to respond, not react. Reactions are automatic. Responses are intentional. When someone pushes your buttons, you can either react instantly and regret it, or take a breath, think, and choose the best action. This 1-second pause is the difference between a wise person and a frustrated one. 4. Emotional control will save you from yourself. Control your anger. Avoid destroying relationships. Control your fear. Take risks that change your life. Control your sadness. Stay focused on your goals. Control your excitement. Avoid impulsive mistakes. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means understanding them, managing them, and using them as fuel. 5. The 3 golden rules of emotional mastery. Rule 1. Never respond when you're angry. Anger creates temporary insanity. Decisions made in rage create permanent consequences. Rule 2. Never quit on a bad day. Your worst emotions will try to make you destroy your best dreams. Rule 3. Observe your emotions like a third person. Say, "I'm feeling angry," not "I am angry." That tiny shift builds emotional distance, and emotional distance gives you control. 6. Emotionally controlled people move faster in life. Why? Because they think clearly, stay consistent, don't waste energy on drama,
Stay focused on long-term goals. Don't break down under stress. This is why emotional control is your superpower. It keeps you on track when others fall off. 7. When you control your emotions, you become unstoppable. People will test you. Life will challenge you. Situations will shake you. But if your inner world is stable, your outer world cannot break you. Stay calm, stay focused, stay unshakable. Because the moment your emotions stop controlling you, you become the kind of person who always wins. Chapter 5. Focus is the new wealth. Focus is the new wealth. Not money, not popularity, not opportunity. Focus. Because without focus, nothing in your life compounds. Without focus, your goals stay unfinished. Without focus, your potential stays locked away. Every breakthrough you want in your life, your career, your discipline, your health, your peace, depends on one thing: your ability to direct your mind and keep it there. And this is the part people ignore. They chase money, they chase attention, they chase shortcuts, but they never chase focus. Here's the truth most people never understand. You don't build wealth with speed. You build wealth with precision. You build wealth with depth. You build wealth with sustained concentration. And that requires discipline. That requires clarity. That requires the one skill most people refuse to develop: the ability to eliminate distractions. You have a choice every day, every hour, every minute. You can give your attention to the world, or you can give your attention to your future. That's the key. Where you place your attention determines the quality of your results. Where you place your attention determines the strength of your mind. Where you place your attention determines who you become. Let me give you a real-world picture of the modern trap. Most people wake up and hand their focus away instantly. First thing in the morning, they grab their phone. They check notifications. They scroll. They watch. They react. Before their feet even touch the ground, their attention has already been hijacked by the world. They don't own their morning. They don't own their mind. They don't own their focus. And because of that, they don't own their future. This is the silent form of poverty nobody talks about. Not financial poverty. Focus poverty. When you have no control of your focus, you become a slave to every distraction. Every ping, every message, every drama, every opinion, every piece of noise that steals your mental bandwidth. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not overwhelmed because your life is hard. You're overwhelmed because your attention is scattered, because your priorities are diluted, because your focus is divided into 100 useless pieces. People say they don't have time, but they do. What they don't have is focus. Because when you focus, you stretch time. When you focus, you accelerate progress. When you focus, you outrun people who are smarter, richer, and more talented than you. Focus beats everything. I'll say it again. Focus beats everything. Money? It comes when you master your craft. Success? It comes when you commit to one path long enough to see results. Confidence? It comes when you stop jumping from thing to thing and actually finish something. And all of that comes from focus. Look at the most successful people in the world. They aren't the ones doing everything. They're the ones doing one thing with extraordinary depth. They cut the noise. They guard their time. They protect their attention like it's gold, because it is. Focus is the currency that buys every transformation you want. But here's the mistake you must stop making. You treat your focus like it's infinite, like you can waste it, like you can give it away for free. You can't. You only get a limited amount of mental energy each day. You only get a limited amount of concentration. You only get a limited amount of clarity. When you waste it on distractions, you steal it from your future. When you waste it on people who drain you, you steal it from your potential. When you waste it on activities that don't matter, you steal it from the life you're trying to build. This is why focus must become your new wealth. This is why you must guard it with discipline. This is why you must stop treating it casually. Let's get practical. Here's what you need to do. First, identify the top 3 distractions in your life. Be honest. It might be your phone. It might be social media. It might be gossip. It might be friends who love drama. It might be your own habits of procrastination. Whatever they are, cut them. Reduce their access. Reduce their time. Reduce their influence. You have a choice. Second, create a daily focus zone, a protected block of time. No notifications, no interruptions, no excuses. This is your power hour. This is where your real life gets built. This is where discipline replaces noise. Third, train your mind like a muscle, because focus is a muscle. And right now, your mind is weak not because you're broken, but because you never trained it. You build focus the same way you build strength: resistance, repetition, effort. Work without checking your phone. Stay in the task even when you feel bored. Finish what you start even when it's uncomfortable. That's discipline. That's mastery. It's not about motivation. It's about consistency. It's not about intensity. It's about direction. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. You don't need talent to become focused. You need commitment. You need boundaries. You need self-respect. And understand this: when you master your focus, you control your life. When you control your life, you create opportunities. When you create opportunities, you elevate your future. Everything compounds from focus. People will say you've changed. They'll say you're distant. They'll say you're obsessed. Good. Let them talk. You aren't distant. You're disciplined. You're not obsessed. You're intentional. You're not cold. You're focused. You don't need their permission to protect your mind. You don't need their approval to invest in your goals. You don't need their understanding to build your future. This chapter is your reminder. Your focus determines your wealth. Your focus determines your progress. Your focus determines your destiny. Guard it. Strengthen it. Respect it. Because the world is trying to steal it from you every second you're alive. But you're stronger than the noise. You're stronger than the distractions. You're stronger than the habits that once controlled you. You have a choice. Choose focus.
Choose discipline. Choose transformation. And now that you understand the true currency of your life, it's time to talk about another silent killer of your potential. Chapter 6. Stop comparing, start competing with yourself. Comparison is the fastest way to destroy your confidence. Comparison is the quiet thief of motivation. Comparison is the poison that drains your focus before your journey even begins. Every time you look at someone else's progress, you steal energy from your own path. Every time you measure your beginnings against someone else's middle, you weaken your belief. Every time you compare, you step away from your own potential. And here is the truth you've been avoiding. You cannot grow while you are staring at someone else. Say it again. You cannot grow while you are staring at someone else. Because comparison pulls your attention outward. Growth requires your attention inward. Progress demands self-awareness. Comparison creates self-doubt. You have a choice. Every day, every moment. You can compare or you can compete with yourself. That's the key. Competition with others drains you. Competition with yourself strengthens you. Comparison steals your peace. Self-competition builds your discipline. And this is not some abstract idea, this is a psychological truth. When you compare, your brain enters a scarcity mode. You start thinking, I'm not enough, I'm behind, I'm failing, I'll never catch up. Your mind collapses under pressure that doesn't even belong to you. But when you compete with yourself, the dialogue changes. I can improve, I can grow, I can be better than yesterday. I can progress at my pace. That shift is everything. Let me show you a real-world example. There's a young creator who posts content every day. He works hard, he learns, he improves. But every morning, before he even produces anything, he checks someone else's numbers. Someone with a bigger audience, better opportunities, more luck. And suddenly, his motivation collapses. His mind whispers, it's pointless. It'll never happen for you. You're too slow. And because he compares, he stops building. He stops practicing. He stops improving. He stops believing. All because he was staring in the wrong direction. All because comparison stole his progress. All because he forgot the most important rule. Your only competition is you. Not the person online, not the person next door, not the person with more followers, more money, more confidence. Your only competition is yesterday's version of you. And when you understand that, something powerful happens. You shift from envy to effort. You shift from fear to focus. You shift from discouragement to discipline. You stop measuring your journey by someone else's timeline. You stop punishing yourself for not being where someone else is. You stop using other people's achievements as weapons against your own motivation. Because you don't need their permission to grow. You don't need their validation to improve. You don't need their pace to set your speed. You set your pace. You control your progress. You build your life. And here's the core truth you must internalize. It's not about them. It's about discipline. It's not about how fast someone else moved. It's about how consistently you move. It's not about how big their success looks. It's about how steady your habits become. It's not about their achievements. It's about your actions. When you compete with yourself, you create momentum. When you compare, you create paralysis. Let me explain it in simple terms. When you compare, you feel small, you feel behind, you feel pressured, you feel inadequate. When you compete with yourself, you feel challenged, you feel motivated, you feel empowered, you feel capable. Which mindset moves you forward? Which mindset strengthens your character? Which mindset builds your resilience? Which mindset creates progression rather than frustration? Self-competition builds confidence because it emphasizes improvement, not perfection. Every improvement, even a tiny one, is a win. Every consistent action strengthens your identity. Every disciplined choice reinforces your self-belief. And this is why self-competition is sustainable, while comparison is destructive. When you compare, you rely on external factors. When you compete with yourself, you rely on internal control. Comparison is fragile. Self-competition is powerful. Comparison creates anxiety. Self-competition creates discipline. Comparison blocks growth. Self-competition fuels it. Now here's the transformational part. When you stop comparing, you free your mind. When you stop comparing, you stop wasting energy. When you stop comparing, you stop feeding insecurity. When you stop comparing, you build confidence. When you stop comparing, you build focus. When you stop comparing, you build momentum. And when you start competing with yourself,
Every day becomes an opportunity. Every step becomes progress. Every action becomes a building block. Every habit becomes a foundation. Every improvement becomes a proof that you are capable. And this strengthens a mindset that no external noise can destroy. Because you're no longer looking outward for validation. You're no longer measuring yourself with someone else's yardstick. You're no longer losing your calm because of someone else's achievements. You're building something that belongs to you. A life shaped by your choices. A discipline formed by your consistency. A confidence built by your self-respect. A future formed by your daily actions. That is the essence of self-competition. You don't need noise. You don't need comparison. You don't need envy. You don't need pressure. You need discipline. You need focus. You need improvement. You need consistency. And that is enough. Because progress doesn't require perfection. Progress requires direction. And your direction now is clear. Stop comparing. Start competing with yourself. You've taken back control of your mental energy. You have removed the noise. You have reclaimed your confidence. You have unlocked your discipline. And now that you understand how comparison destroys growth, it's time to expose something even more dangerous: the invisible cost of staying the same.
Chapter 7. The Cost of Not Working on Yourself. There is a price you pay when you avoid growth. A price you pay when you stay comfortable. A price you pay when you delay discipline. A price you pay when you refuse to evolve. And the cost is never obvious at first. It doesn't hit you in one blow. It creeps in quietly, slowly, insidiously. Because stagnation doesn't announce itself. It settles, it accumulates, it corrodes. And one day you look back, and nothing has changed. Your life looks the same. Your habits look the same. Your mindset looks the same. Your results look the same. And you wonder why you feel stuck. You wonder why you feel frustrated. You wonder why you feel behind. But here is the brutal truth. You didn't lose because life was unfair. You lost because you stopped improving. You have a choice. Every single day, you can grow or you can stagnate. That's the key. Growth requires effort. Stagnation requires nothing. Growth demands discipline. Stagnation demands comfort. Growth demands discomfort. Stagnation feels easy until you realize it has stolen your future. Let me explain this with a story. There is a man who once had dreams. He wanted a better career. He wanted financial stability. He wanted confidence. He wanted a life he could be proud of. But he kept telling himself, "I'll start tomorrow. I'm not ready. I need more time. I'll wait until things calm down." Days became months, months became years, years became regret. And nothing changed. Not because he lacked opportunities, not because he lacked intelligence, not because life wasn't giving him chances, but because he never invested in himself. He never upgraded his skills. He never strengthened his mindset. He never disciplined his habits. He never challenged his comfort. And the cost of that neglect accumulated quietly. While others improved, he stayed the same. While others advanced, he remained frozen. While others grew, he waited. And the waiting became his downfall. Because here's the truth most people refuse to accept. If you don't work on yourself, you decay. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, professionally. Your confidence weakens. Your motivation shrinks. Your habits deteriorate. your trajectory flattens. Because life doesn't stand still, and neither do people. Every day someone is learning. Every day someone is improving. Every day someone is leveling up. Every day someone is becoming sharper, stronger, more disciplined. And if you're not improving, you're falling behind. Not dramatically, not loudly, just steadily, like a slow leak. And you don't notice it until the damage is done. Let me repeat this clearly. You don't need their permission to grow. You don't need their approval to evolve. You don't need their guidance to improve. You only need discipline. Because improvement is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It's not something you do when you feel like it. It's something you do because your future depends on it. It's not about talent. It's about consistency. It's not about luck. It's about effort. It's not about motivation. It's about habits. It's not about inspiration. It's about discipline. And here is the core lesson. It's not about how you start. It's about whether you keep growing. When you stop growing, you start losing. You lose momentum. You lose confidence. You lose clarity. You lose opportunities. You lose direction. Because stagnation creates a false sense of safety. You feel comfortable. You feel relaxed. You feel justified. But comfort is a trap. Comfort seduces you. Comfort convinces you. Comfort numbs you. And while you're comfortable, others are sharpening their skills. Others are building their discipline. Others are strengthening their mindset. Others are creating opportunities you will never have because you stayed still. Stagnation doesn't just cost you progress. It costs you respect. It costs you confidence. It costs you self-belief. It costs you momentum. It costs you the life you could have built. And the worst part? You blame everything except yourself. You blame circumstances. You blame people. You blame luck. You blame timing. But the truth is simpler. You didn't invest in yourself. You didn't train your mind. You didn't refine your habits. You didn't push your limits. You didn't evolve. And evolution is what separates average lives from extraordinary ones. Every person who achieved something significant made a decision. I will improve. I will grow. I will get better. I will work on myself even when it's uncomfortable. I will discipline myself even when motivation disappears. And that choice created momentum. Momentum creates results. Results create confidence. Confidence creates clarity. Clarity creates opportunities. Self-improvement is a cycle that compounds. But stagnation is also a cycle that drains. And the cost of not working on yourself accumulates silently until one day you wake up with regret. And regret is the most expensive cost of all. Because you cannot buy back lost years. You cannot restore lost discipline. You cannot repair lost confidence. You cannot reclaim lost momentum. But you can stop the decay. You can choose growth today. You can choose discipline today. You can choose improvement today. You can choose transformation today. Because you still have control. You still have time. You still have potential. You still have the ability. And you still have a choice. Grow or decay. Improve or stagnate. Invest or regret. That is the cost. And now that you understand what stagnation steals from you, it's time to learn what actually builds you. Chapter 8. Consistency beats talent every time. Talent is overrated. Skill is overrated. Potential is overrated. Because none of them matter if you don't show up. You can be gifted. You can be intelligent. You can be creative. You can be naturally strong. But if you don't practice, if you don't repeat, if you don't discipline yourself, you will still lose. Let me make this crystal clear.
Consistency beats talent every time. Because talent gives you a head start, consistency gives you a finish line. Talent gives you potential. Consistency gives you results. Talent gives you noise. Consistency gives you power. Talent gives you imagination. Consistency gives you manifestation. Talent is a spark. Consistency is the fire. And fires build something. Sparks disappear. You have a choice. Every day you wake up, every moment you decide. You can rely on talent, or you can rely on consistency. That's the key. Talent feels exciting. Consistency feels boring. But consistency builds lives. Talent only dreams. Let me show you a real-life picture. There is a student who is naturally intelligent. He grasps concepts quickly. He understands things without effort. He learns faster than most. But he doesn't practice. He doesn't repeat. He doesn't train. He doesn't build habits. Then there is another student, not as gifted, not as sharp, not as quick. But he sits down every day. He studies every day. He repeats every day. He builds discipline every day. Guess who ends up ahead? Not the talented one, the consistent one. Because consistency compounds. Talent stagnates. Talent fades when it's not used. Consistency strengthens when it is used. Talent collapses under pressure. Consistency holds under pressure. Talent gives you a moment. Consistency gives you a lifetime. And here's the deeper truth. Success is not built by bursts. Success is built by habits. Small actions repeated daily. Small disciplines performed consistently. Small choices made even when motivation is gone. Because discipline doesn't care about mood. Discipline doesn't care about emotion. Discipline doesn't care about excuses. Discipline shows up. Every single day. Even when you're tired. Even when you're bored. Even when you're discouraged. Even when you don't feel like it. Consistency doesn't require inspiration. It requires commitment. And commitment is a decision you make before the action. You decide, I will show up. I will do the work. I will build the habit. I will improve. And then you follow through. Because a person who shows up daily will always outperform a person who relies solely on talent. Let me give you another example. There is a musician who has natural talent. He can play without practice. He can improvise without training. He can perform without effort. But he stops practicing. He stops improving. He stops learning. Then there is another musician with average talent. But he trains every day. He practices scales every day. He studies every day. He refines his technique every day.
Over time, guess who becomes a master? Not the gifted one, the disciplined one. Because consistency creates excellence. Excellence is not born. Excellence is trained. Excellence is repeated. Excellence is disciplined. Excellence is daily. And this is why consistency wins every time. Because consistency removes uncertainty. Consistency creates momentum. Consistency builds confidence. Consistency strengthens identity. Consistency creates trust. Consistency creates results. Talent cannot compensate for inconsistency. Talent cannot replace daily effort. Talent cannot fix habits you refuse to build. Talent cannot save you when discipline is absent. Talent without consistency is noise. Consistency without talent is progress. And progress, however small, always beats potential. Because potential does nothing until it is acted upon. You can have a great idea. You can have a big dream. You can have ambition. You can have vision. But without consistency, it remains imaginary. Dreams require action. Goals require habits. Growth requires repetition. Transformation requires discipline. And discipline is not glamorous. It doesn't shine. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't excite you. It does the work quietly. It shows up when no one is watching. It continues when motivation fades. It progresses when others quit. That's why consistency builds confidence. Every action you repeat strengthens your belief. Every habit you follow reinforces your identity. Every disciplined choice rewires your mindset. Consistency makes you reliable. Consistency makes you stable. Consistency makes you unstoppable. People trust consistent people. Opportunities come to consistent people. Success gravitates towards consistent people. Because consistency signals commitment. Consistency signals seriousness. Consistency signals growth. And this is why ordinary people beat extraordinary people. Because ordinary people show up. Because ordinary people repeat. Because ordinary people discipline themselves. Because ordinary people build habits. Because ordinary people stay consistent. Talent doesn't win. Discipline wins. Motivation doesn't win. Consistency wins. Potential doesn't win. Habits win. And here is the final truth. It's not about how gifted you are. It's about how consistent you are. You don't need talent to build a powerful life. You need consistency. You need repetition. You need patience. You need discipline. Show up tomorrow. Show up the next day. Show up the next week. Show up the next month. And watch your life transform quietly, slowly, but inevitably. Because consistency compounds. And now that you understand why discipline outperforms talent, it's time to cut away the noise that sabotages consistency. Chapter 9. Cut the noise. Cut the negativity. Noise is the hidden enemy of progress. Negativity is the silent killer of discipline. Distraction is the thief that steals your momentum before you even begin. You think noise is harmless. You think distraction is normal. You think negativity is just part of life. But here's the truth. Noise destroys focus.
Negativity destroys confidence. Distraction destroys discipline. And discipline is the foundation of everything you want. You have a choice. Every day, every moment, you can allow noise or you can eliminate it. That's the key. When noise enters your mind, clarity leaves. When negativity enters your environment, motivation leaves. When distraction enters your routine, consistency leaves. And when consistency leaves, your growth collapses. Let me explain this clearly. Noise doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes noise looks like conversation. Sometimes noise looks like gossip. Sometimes noise looks like fun. But noise always steals something: your attention. And attention is the most valuable resource you have. If you don't protect it, someone or something else will. Every notification, every message, every opinion, every distraction, they pull your attention outward. They pull your focus away. They pull your energy into places that don't matter. And here is the truth. You cannot build anything meaningful with a fragmented mind. You cannot grow with a scattered focus. You cannot create with constant noise. Because noise creates confusion.
They chase opportunities. They chase people. They chase validation. And while they're chasing, someone else is building. Someone else is disciplined. Someone else is consistent. Someone else is focused. Someone else is improving. And that someone else is the one who wins. Because trust me, focus beats chaos every time. Focus beats talent every time. Focus beats noise every time. Focus beats distraction every time. Focus is the weapon. Focus is the engine. Focus is the discipline. Focus is the mindset. Focus is the future. And here is the fundamental truth. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's not about inspiration. It's about consistency. It's not about motivation. It's about habits. It's not about luck. It's about focus. Because focus is what keeps you moving when motivation disappears. Focus keeps you disciplined when emotions flare. Focus keeps you grounded when noise rises. Focus keeps you committed when others quit. Focus keeps you building when everyone else is reacting. Focus keeps you winning when the world is distracting. And here is the part most people miss. You don't need their approval. You don't need their encouragement. You don't need their understanding. You don't need their support. You need discipline. Focus is discipline. Focus is intention. Focus is self-respect. Focus is commitment. Focus is consistency. Focus is the quiet force that quietly reshapes your life. Let me show you an example. There is a person who wants to improve his life. He cleans his environment. He cuts the noise. He removes negativity. He trains his mindset. He builds habits. He shows up daily. No applause, no validation, no audience. Just self-focus. And while others are loud, he is disciplined. While others are chasing, he is building. While others are comparing, he is improving. While others are reacting, he is steady. While others quit, he continues. And because he continues, he wins. Because progress accumulates. Because habits compound. Because discipline strengthens. Because focus builds. Because consistency transforms. Because self-focus creates momentum. Because momentum creates results. Because results create confidence. Because confidence creates clarity. Because clarity creates opportunity. Because opportunity creates success. And success belongs to those who stayed focused. Not those who were noisy. Not those who were distracted. Not those who were reactive. Not those who were comparing. Not those who were chasing. But those who stayed focused. Those who were disciplined. Those who were consistent. Those who stayed committed. Those who stayed in their lane. Those who focused on themselves until they won. And here is your reality. You are capable of more than you think. You are stronger than your habits. You are more disciplined than your fears. You are more focused than your distractions. You are more committed than your excuses. You are more resilient than your environment. You are more powerful than your noise. But power requires direction. And direction requires focused. Every transformation in your life begins with this decision. I will focus on me. I will build myself. I will discipline myself. I will strengthen my mindset. I will improve daily. I will win. Not because life is easy. Not because the path is smooth. Not because results come fast. But because discipline outlasts emotion. Because consistency outlasts motivation. Because focus outlasts noise. Because self-respect outlasts uncertainty. Because growth outlasts comfort. Because commitment outlasts distraction. Because self-focus outlasts everything. And here is the final reminder. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to shout. You don't need attention. You don't need validation. You don't need noise. You need focus. You need discipline. You need consistency. You need intention. You need self-belief. You need commitment. You need growth. You need self-focus. And when you build these, when you discipline these, when you practice these, when you commit to these, you win. Quietly, consistently, inevitably. Because winning is not sudden. Winning is disciplined. Winning is focused. Winning is intentional. Winning is built. Winning is earned. Winning is a habit. Winning is a mindset. Winning is self-focus. And now you understand the entire blueprint. You cut the noise. You strengthened discipline. You mastered consistency. You reclaimed your focus. You stopped chasing. You stopped comparing. You stopped reacting. Now you build. Now you focus. Now you win. Because this is the final command. Focus on you until you win. Focus on you until you win. Focus on you until you win. Here's the truth. You don't lose because you're weak. You lose because you're distracted. You lose because you care too much about people who don't care about you. You lose because you give your best energy to the wrong battles. But that ends today. From this moment forward, your mission is non-negotiable. Focus on you until you win. Build your mind. Strengthen your discipline. Guard your peace. Show up for yourself every single day. Even when you're tired. Even when you're doubted. Even when the world is silent. The results will come. The respect will come. The transformation will come. But only if you stay locked in. Your future is waiting. Your potential is waiting. The next chapter of your life begins when you stop chasing and start building. So here is your challenge. Choose yourself. Commit to yourself. And don't stop until you win.